The first bill up, members, is House File 861, Representative Hollins. Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm sorry. I would like to move that House File 861 be considered for inclusion in the omnibus bill. Sorry.
I think your motion is to refer to Ways and Means, and then we'll be laying.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, my bad. Ways and Means.
All right. So Representative Hollins moves House File 861 to the Ways and Means Committee. Representative Hollins, your bill is now before us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee members. House File 861 is a bill requesting $4 million in annual investment for emergency funds and direct client assistance to support the needs of domestic and sexual violence victims and the victims of other crimes. The current funds are woefully inadequate to address basic needs of crime victims. We're asking for $4 million to be able to provide that direct money to survivors to meet their basic needs, things like rent and food. When COVID-19 hit in April, up until the end of 2020, Violence Free Minnesota gave out $500,000 in direct client assistance to survivors to cover things like their most basic needs. I mentioned rent and food, but also transportation, housing assistance, et cetera. And even with that $500,000, they were not able to meet the need of the folks who were asking for it. So the need is great, and we anticipate that it's going to continue to be great, and that in fact it might grow, especially as we start to come out of this pandemic. We would like to allow survivors to access the emergency funds through direct client assistance grants from the grant making unit of the Office of Justice Programs. And the coalition has met with OJP and decided to keep the bill language general for the details and mechanisms of distributions to be worked out on the back end. I have a couple of testifiers here to speak more to the language of the bill and the general need. Would you like me to introduce them, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please, Representative Hollins. Oh, not sure you heard me. I have Ms. Artika Roller and Katie Kramer. And so why don't we call forward Ms. Artika Roller, Executive Director of Violence Free Minnesota. Please state your name for the record and give us your testimony, please.
Chair Mariani and members of the committee, my name is Artika Roller. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault, MNCASA. And I'm here with Katie Kramer, the Policy Director with Violence Free Minnesota.
Welcome.
And I would like to share my screen.
Please do. Looks good.
There we go. All right. We are here to testify in support of House File 861, a bill that provides funding for victims and survivors of crime to mitigate the impacts of crime and harm those individuals experience. House File 861 is supported by each of the 5 state coalitions working to end violence and abuse. Violence Free Minnesota, MNCASA, as well as the Minnesota Alliance on Crime, Mending the Sacred Hoop, and the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Center. This bill provides funding to directly address the financial needs of crime victims. Crimes and violence crimes in particular has significant financial impact on victims and survivors. The needs are high. There are limited assistance available, and particularly in small and rural communities, the funds are very limited. The type of needs, and I will move on. The type of needs that crime victims in this bill would cover include repairing damages that happens during violence, things that are broken, like providing new locks, fixes to damages with cars, and much, much more. There's one example of Hope Center in Wright County that used the money to repair breaks that an abuser had damaged, so the survivor could commute to work and school. providing additional security measures to enhance safety for crime victims. Violence Free has provided funds for money and food, and assisting with medical and healthcare expenses, medical and therapy copays, medical and therapy costs that are not covered by insurance. We also assist with financial needs with housing costs. This is one of the biggest financial needs that we find. First month rent, damage deposits, moving expenses, shelter stays when there's no shelter in their area or there's no shelter space available. For victims of domestic violence, direct financial assistance can be make a big difference in a victim's deciding whether they need to stay or leave a violent situation. She has a safe place for her and her children. Will she be able to get to her job, provide for her children? Direct financial assistance helps with the mitigation of chaotic situations, provides safety, security, and stability for victims and survivors. Now I'll pass it on to Katie from Violence Free Minnesota, who will talk about what funds are currently available for victims and survivors. Thank you.
Very well. Welcome to the committee, Ms. Kramer. Please state your name for the record and give us your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Mariani. Members of the committee, I'm Katie Kramer, Policy Director for Violence Free Minnesota. So what funds are currently available? Currently, the Office of Justice Programs provides $150,000 in emergency funds each year. These funds are restricted to the victims of general crimes, crimes other than domestic and sexual violence. The funds are limited because there's insufficient funding to meet victim survivor needs. It's inadequate to meet the needs of general crime victims and nowhere near what is needed if you add in domestic and sexual violence victim survivor needs. The $150,000 is expended each year for general crime victims only. So the needs of all domestic and sexual violence victims would far surpass the fund at its current level. Many of the programs funded by the Office of Justice Programs, or OJP, have budget line items for direct client assistance, but the money available is not sufficient and it takes away from other program needs. For example, Someplace Safe, a domestic and sexual violence program serving 9 counties in West Central Minnesota, used up their OJP budget line item in the first 4 months of their current 24-month grant period. They have not filled an open advocate position as they are using those salary savings to continue to meet victim needs through direct assistance. In fiscal year 2020, Someplace Safe spent approximately $180,000 to meet direct victim needs. In the beginning of the pandemic, the coalitions and our member programs received COVID dollars specifically to provide emergency assistance. Violence Free Minnesota distributed nearly $500,000 in 9 months, providing funds to 553 individuals and families for everything from security systems, car repairs, food, winter boots for children, housing costs, and we did not meet the need. And the average check was about $850. MnCASA distributed $25,000 in 2 months. Women's Rural Advocacy Programs, or WRAP, a domestic and sexual violence program serving 4 counties in Southwest Minnesota, states, quote, one of the recipients of a phone and phone card was able to safely plan with her advocate, flee when it was the safest for her and her child, and is now in safe housing. She is now utilizing the phone to search for long-term housing, connect with possible employers, and find daycare for her son. So again, these are one-time money specific to the pandemic, but these COVID funds highlight the great need that exists for crime victims. The need that COVID-19 funds are meeting are great, they're growing, and they'll continue after the COVID-19 pandemic. So a little more on the extent of the need. More than 68,000 domestic and sexual violence victims receive services from our advocacy programs each year. This does not count the additional 46,000 receiving services as victims of general crime and 9,500 receiving abused children services. So based on various national studies, it's estimated that 50% or fewer domestic and sexual violence victims connect with advocacy programs. Since these are funds that would go to both victims working with an advocacy program, and also victim survivors could directly access these funds as well. So it's important to look at both of those numbers. So how the funding would work, the proposed bill language has statewide coalitions working with the Office of Justice Programs to develop the mechanisms for distribution of these emergency funds, which would be open to all victims, not just those connected with programs, and would provide grants to programs dedicated to victim survivor needs. The funding will flow both through the 176 crime victim advocacy programs currently funded by OJP to every county in the state, and also be available to victim survivors who are not connected to a program. OJP has a strong history of working with the coalitions and community-based organizations and have a proven track record of distributing funds fairly and effectively. So in conclusion, research shows that a victim's safety is enhanced by providing them financial support. For example, providing a victim of domestic violence with money to secure stable housing not only reduces rates of homelessness, it also reduces rates of future violence. This funding would allow for survivors of crime to remove barriers that prevent them from having immediate access to safety and allow them to meet the basic needs of themselves and their children. So we ask for your support for House File 861 to support the needs of domestic and sexual violence victims and victims of other crimes. And I just wanted to note that in addition to Artika and I, we have Liz Richards, the Executive Director of Violence Free Minnesota, and Bobby Holtberg, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Alliance on Crime, on the line available to answer any member questions. Thank you.
Very well, thank you, Ms. Kramer. And Representative Representative Hollins, I'm looking at the wrong notes here. Representative Hollins, I'm struck by the testimony that I just heard for a number of reasons, but one that frankly I've never really embarrassingly, I think, thought about, which is when we talk about how crime costs society, we clearly have a strong feel for the emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical harm. And on top of that, it costs financially. I mean, if you're fixing somebody's brakes, if you're fixing somebody's, door lock or whatever, those are real, you're paying a vendor somewhere to be able to do that. I'm really, just to Ms. Kramer and Director Kramer and Director Roller, I don't know I don't know the history of the crime, the General Crime Victims Fund. Can you just enlighten me a bit? How long has that been around, and you've laid out, I think, a pattern of, or not a pattern, but you laid out some metrics in terms of it being used and, how it's insufficient. Particularly for one would argue the unique costs, related to sexual and domestic assault. But what can you tell us about the history of that fund itself? How long has it been around? Has it changed, moved, evolved, et cetera?
Chair Mariani, we will actually ask Liz Richards to answer that question.
Oh, very well. Okay. Welcome to the committee, Ms. Richards. Please state your name for the record, and I think you heard the question.
Yes. Liz Richards, Director at Violence Free Minnesota. So Chair Mariani and members, the emergency fund through the Office of Justice Programming, I don't know exactly when it started, but it's been around for many years. It has changed in its format quite a bit over that time. It used to be distributed to programs all across the state. Every program would get a little bit of money and to administer the funds. They then tried to get some consistency in administration of the funds because it wasn't just for people working with the individual program, but it was for any crime victim could contact the program to access emergency funds. So over the years, they then consolidated it down to 20 some programs around the state who were administering those dollars for anybody who contacted them. And then a few years back, and I want to say it's like 4 years, I might be slightly off in that number of years. They then consolidated it down to one program to administer the emergency fund statewide. And Cornerstone in Bloomington is the organization that distributes those funds. And one of the things that happened when it was consolidated down to one program is it was much easier to track the dollars and how they were going out. And what they found is that the dollars were draining out so quickly that they were going to run out of funding very quickly in that fund. So a decision was made by the Office of Justice Programming to limit the funds to general crime victims to access the fund in order to try and address the needs at least of one segment of crime victims. And so for the last few years, that fund has been restricted to general crime victims only. It isn't sufficient for that group of crime victims, but that's how the money has been directed. And I believe, and I don't have all the specifics, but it's been about $150,000. I believe they used some additional COVID monies over the last year to grow the fund a little bit in a one-time fashion. And the money comes both out of some of their general budget monies. They also take some money out of reparations that sometimes flows into this fund as well. So I don't have all the specifics about exactly what goes into that fund, but it's about $150,000 from the Office of Justice Programming. And at this point in time, it's restricted to the victims of general crime.
So that's helpful. Thank you, Ms. Richards. The follow-up to that is, the $4 million request, which is in the bill. So that's tied to, is it just a number that folks pulled out, or is it tied to some kind of, looking at, what the use and the hits, if you will, have been on the fund? What can you tell us, if anything, about the request itself, the amount of the request itself?
Chair Mariani and members, it's both and, I would say, in response to your question. So it's both looking at what do we see as the needs, so looking both at how much money was going out around COVID, requests that were coming through. That's the place where the coalitions, because we have not historically been the funders of direct client needs in that way, but because of the money and the time period and trying to get money out quickly, we assumed that role as coalitions. And so we started to see the level of needs. So that's partly, and it's partly looking at what's a figure that we think. So that's probably when we looked at the extent of the need. I mean, how many victims are coming through our programs every year? And the numbers that we provided you from 2019, those come from the Office of Justice Programming and have been fairly consistent. So, so we know the volume of folks who are coming to our programs. We hear from our programs, someplace they've spending $180,000 last year out of their funds. So, so sort of looking at those things, and then also looking, what's a reasonable funding ask, also factoring in there. So it's a little bit about, making a guess, but basing it on some of those numbers of what we're seeing as need.
Well, clearly over time, I would imagine if we're successful with this, we should be pulling metrics, so to further inform legislators about whether we're meeting the need, underserving it, et cetera. It was pretty shocking to hear of a West Minnesota group that ran out of their 24-month, budgeted amount, if you will, within the first 4 months of their operations. That's pretty shocking. All right, we do have questions. Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So I'm looking at the language of the bill, and I understand what you're trying to do. I get that, but the language is very broad. And this question is to the author of the bill. It just says crime victims, and it's not specified as in victims of violence or victims of sexual assault. It's completely broad, just a victim of crime, which could put us in the same problem that we've had with the other fund that gets expensed very quickly. So I'm wondering if, well, actually the language of the bill probably needs to change, but if you want to tell me what you're thinking about when you just say a crime victim. And the second question I have is the eligibility requirements will be determined by the director of OJP in consultation. So I'm wondering if maybe that's more appropriate to be done in the legislature to determine some of these requirements. Again, because you've started so globally, you've said any victim of crime, and then you said the grant recipients will be determined by the department, by OJP. And then the third question I have is you don't have a specific request or requirement, excuse me, of a report back to the legislature. And I'm wondering why you don't have that in the bill either. So those three questions to the author of the bill, please.
All right, three questions. Representative Hollins, and I trust you may also want to call on some of your witnesses to help answer.
Yes.
Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative O'Neill. Those are all really good questions. I'm going to try my best to remember them as I go through looking at it. And I will also call on my testifiers to answer some of the more technical questions. So I think my understanding is that it was kept open for just crime victims in general, because we know that there are like a wide berth of crimes that might be committed against somebody where they need assistance. And sometimes they don't all fit neatly into, into domestic violence or sexual assault. It can vary widely, and they might not be charged in that way, but still end up being the result of that crime, if that makes any sense. I would also say that my understanding of the Office of Justice, having it being administered by the Office of Justice, is particularly because they wanted to make sure that we meet the needs of whatever victims and survivors are needing at that time, and we understand that might vary. And so we wanted to have that flexibility instead of putting it into the legislation directly, so that they're able to address things as they become clear. For example, I think prior to COVID-19, there might have not known that we needed, assistance with certain things, and now that assistance is, maybe seems obvious to us, but things change, and we want to be able to adjust accordingly. And I guess I would call on one of my testifiers to speak to this. I don't know if Liz would probably be the correct person to address it more completely.
I'll leave it to whoever, Ms. Richards.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of things. One is that the language that is currently in statute around funding is for crime victim services. So OJP administers the dollars for crime victim services. So that's the same language that's already in the bills in terms of the general funding, and they divide that into the categories of domestic violence, sexual violence, general crimes, and abused children. So those are the four categories that are included under crime victim services through the Office of Justice programming. So using the crime victim language is a mirror to what it fits with the other funding schemes and how that money flows to them. As coalitions, we have all met, and we do meet routinely and regularly with the Office of Justice Programming, and have a clear understanding around what crime victim services mean and how funding stuff distributes. And I would say they have had a framework for doing this funding, albeit with limited dollars. So the current emergency funds have been set up and have very specific parameters about eligibility of who's eligible to apply and what kind of expenses are eligible to be paid. And that's right, and that flows with those dollars. OJP doesn't hand the dollars out. They grant the money right now to Cornerstone program, which has to follow those guidelines. So that's one way the money comes out to victims. And then the other is through programs, that this money can also then be distributed to programs with a very specific earmark that it's for direct client assistance. And that also comes with programs having to meet standards and meet eligibility requirements. And our programs currently have to meet various state and federal requirements about who's eligible and eligible for what expenses. And so it's our assumption that those same frameworks and eligibility requirements would be applied to this money. It would just be a larger sum of money that could go much further. So that's with both of those things. I think in terms of report back to the legislature, I think that's not my bill, it's Representative Hollins, but I can't imagine that any of us would have any objection, would actually welcome an opportunity to bring back information to the legislature.
Thank you. Representative Hollins, to that last point, a report back. I'm thinking LJP provides reports generally anyway, but I do think that, with taking this step forward, that it would, I guess I would echo Representative O'Neill's, concern, not concern, but, request that we get a report so that we can, in fact, and that was part of why I asked the question I asked in terms of, so what are the trends, what are the metrics here so that I know, that I'm doing all I can, to invest in help. So Representative Hollins, just very quickly in terms of your own willingness.
Yep, I knew I was going to forget one of them when I saw the list from Representative O'Neill. Thank you, Chair Mariani. I think reporting back would be fantastic. The more data that we can have on how these are spent and what the need is, I think the better prepared we can be in the next biennium to address this as well. So I'm definitely in favor of that.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I appreciate that. I would hope that the language could get a little bit more specific. I realize that once it gets to OJP, there are some parameters there, but I think it would be helpful to have some of those laid out in the language itself here. I also am wondering a couple things. Is this an ongoing appropriation? It's not real clear in the language as I read it. And then also, could this money be supplied for staff salaries and things like that? Or is it, because it's so open and so vague in the language. I'm wondering, and maybe nonpartisan fiscal staff could explain, would this be appropriate to pay for staff salaries of these different receiving agencies or nonprofits?
Let's get the intent first, and then we can turn over to our legal staff. Representative Hollins, on the intent.
The intent, my understanding is the intent is for direct funding for crime victims, not for payment of staff. And Liz, if you want to comment on that, you absolutely can.
No, I was just going to say that's right. That so Representative, the intent is that this money will go for direct victim survivor needs and would not go for programming costs.
And Ms. Richardson, is it the hope and desire that this will be an ongoing appropriation on our part? Obviously, I get the answer. I get to be one of the people that answers that question as we put together our omnibus finance bill. But it'd be good to know what the desires and advice is relative to that.
So Chair Mariani, yes, the need is not going to go away. This is not a need that has arisen just in this time, but these are longstanding needs. We anticipate them to be continuing in the future. And so looking for an ongoing appropriation would be the preference.
Thank you. Mr. Waltz, I take it the way the language is built right now that it's not an ongoing appropriation. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
This is Ben Johnson. I can address both of the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
And Mr. Walls can correct me if I'm incorrect, but Mr. Chair and members, the appropriation is in both years of the biennium. Since the appropriation appears in a second year of the biennium, the assumption is that it is an ongoing appropriation unless it says otherwise. This bill does not say otherwise, so it is drafted to be an ongoing appropriation. As to Representative O'Neill's other question, the language here, page 1, line 8, says that the grants must go to victim survivors of crime. So the assumption here is that it would be going directly to those individuals, those survivors. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Very helpful. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Representative O'Neill?
Thank you. I would just ask again that a little bit more information would be in the bill as far as what type of crime victims. And if you want to put in those 4 categories or something, I think that would be helpful. I think it's a very small bill. It's just 1 paragraph, but I think a little bit more information would be helpful. Thank you.
There may be some wisdom in that, Representative Hollins. Representative Mueller.
Thank you, Chair Mariani and members. And I just have a couple of questions. I echo all the questions that Representative O'Neill asked, and thinking how important it is for us to support these victims. And at the same time, I was looking at the governor's budget and saw that it has a request for an additional $10 million for crime victim survivor grants. So is this an additional appropriation? Is this in tandem with the governor's budget? How does this all work?
Representative Hollins or any of the advocates in terms of relationship with the governor's budget? Obviously, we're going to be making that decision as a committee. I doubt we're going to be able to fund everything that is going to be before us. So we're going to be making and voting on all sorts of ways to construct this, but obviously, to the degree that, there's a sort of a meeting of needs and requests from the executive branch and individual legislators. That's one way to answer that. But just curious, Representative Hollins and or the advocates in terms of the development of this proposal and relationship with the governor's budget. Is there one? Is there not? Just anything you can share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hollins.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair Mariani, and thank you, Representative Mueller. I think that's a really fair question. From my perspective, this, I can only say as much as I know, but as much as I know is that this was brought forward and has been worked on since long before the governor made his budget proposal. So I think that it coincides with the governor's budget proposal and that he's also seeing a need there, but not that it is necessarily in addition to what the governor has proposed. And I would turn to any of my testifiers to back me up or contradict me as necessary.
Feel free to jump in, whoever.
So Chair Mariani, members of the committee, a couple of things here. One is that you would note that the language in the governor's budget is much more broad and comprehensive. It is talking about victim resources, and I believe the phrase is, and to stop cycles of violence. So our understanding is that, and this partly goes to Representative O'Neill's question, that the way that this is placed into the governor's budget is much broader and that would encompass our programs receiving additional money and can also be used for some of the kind of community-based programming currently happening that is not currently being funded. And specifically, I would talk to some of the programming around restorative justice, the programming that works with domestic abuse, people who've used violence or domestic abuse transformation programming. So some of those things which are not currently funded any place would be included in the more comprehensive language that's part of the governor's budget language.
Representative Mueller?
Thank you, Chair. So then my last question would be that we did hear testimony just earlier that that OJP sometimes takes money from the Crime Victims Reparation Board because of the lack of funds. And so could an individual receive money from both of these programs? And how do we know which one they are eligible for? How will we know if they've gotten both funds? I just want to make sure there's full transparency in what's happening.
It might be a question for the department. I don't know if anyone's here to take a gander at that. But in the meantime, any of the testifiers? Okay. I think it's a really good question, Representative Mueller, and we are going to be laying this bill over, and I think it's an appropriate question to engage the department in terms of its practices relative to your inquiry.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Very well. Well, members, thank you for the good vetting, good discussion. Thank you, Representative Hollins, Ms. Roller, Ms. Kramer, and Ms. Richards for being with us, and Ms. Hoper. Thank you all for being with us here today. Representative Hollins, the chair is going to lay over House File 861 for possible inclusion in the, actually, I should give you a final word. I'm sorry, I apologize. Any final words of encouragement or wisdom or all that stuff?
I think, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee members. I appreciate the conversation around this. I think these are all really important questions. I want to thank my testifiers for being here today. And I guess I would simply note the need for this money, for these grants to be given. I didn't even recognize the
We'll give Representative Hollins a second. She had texted me that, there you go. You got to clear that snow off of something in your backyard. Or...
I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with my internet. I'll just thank my testifiers and thank the committee for our robust discussion. And I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing us a good bill. With that, the chair lays over House File 861 for possible inclusion in the committee's omnibus bill.